Well, they called us conspiracy nuts. They called us crazy for exposing, of course, what was going on with Chem Trails over America. Well, now RFK Jr. just publicly named the government agency behind most of it, and he says it's been going on for years. These are crimes against humanity, of course. The Vigilant Fox has, by the way, done a great job of cataloging RFK's promises before he became HHS secretary on a whole host of issues, but specifically this issue, he responded to an ex-post last year before taking office, and he said this: we are going to stop this crime. You know, he's specifically talking about these chemtrails. We are going to stop this crime. So he was emphatic about this. Well, so yesterday, RFK Jr. sat down with Dr. Phil, and he kind of shocked us all when he answered a question from a woman named Emily. She wanted answers about the toxins being sprayed over America every day, and here's what he said. Watch. Wow. Okay. There you go. So DARPA, he says, not my agency. It's DARPA. This is a remarkable admission, which DARPA, of course, which is short for Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, is the United States government's high-tech, basically Frankenstein factory. This is the same agency, by the way, that brought us the internet. Sure. Okay. I guess you could argue maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. We wouldn't be able to do this show without it. Mind control research, killer drones, brain-computer interfaces, AI systems that can predict your behavior before you even think it. DARPA is also reportedly, involved in gain-of-function research, virus research, including gene editing, pandemic prevention technologies. DARPA is spraying chemicals all over America. Good luck getting answers on that. DARPA doesn't answer to you. It doesn't answer to me. And half the time, by the way, it doesn't even answer to Congress. What sort of off-the-books projects is DARPA running? And it operates in the shadows with an unlimited budget and a God complex. DARPA operates, by the way, under Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who just announced a new $1 trillion budget for DOD. So good luck reining in DARPA anytime soon. Maybe if someone other than Fox News is ever allowed to interview these people, maybe we could actually get some answers about it. Yesterday, reports of blue rainwater falling over California also happened. This happened yesterday in the Central Valley of California. Blue rainwater?
So I live here in the Central Valley, and it was raining a couple minutes ago. Can anyone explain the blue water?
I cannot.
Yeah, that's normal. So blue rainwater. Great. Okay. We'll keep our eye on that story.
Also, RFK Jr. just dropped a bombshell about who in the United States government has been trafficking children. These are reports we did finally get the Biden administration to admit to, but now RFK Jr. is saying they put a stop to it. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes.
The internet is a jungle, and if you can fall victim to cybercrime, there's no police to call. You're on your own. Protecting yourself and your loved ones from cyber criminals, scammers, surveillance, governments, corporations, and AI, it's all up to you. If I had to choose one app for privacy, security, and peace of mind, it's our friends over at Bunker. Now, it's built by experts with 25 years of experience catching criminals and fighting cybercrime. Bunker was created to protect their families and friends, and now it's available to you. What do you get with Bunker? Well, you get a private messenger, share messages, photos, files with your trusted contacts, free from surveillance, a password manager to safeguard your online financial shopping, streaming, social media accounts, and a personal vault to securely store your family photos, your financial information, your IDs, tax documents, insurance, and more. Bunker is the one app that delivers supercharged privacy and security, letting you store, share, and communicate freely with those that you trust. Download Bunker from the App Store, the Google Play Store, or visit just bunker.life. That's B-U-N-K-R. There's no E in there. Bunker.life. Use the code REDACTED to get your first 3 months for free. Again, that's bunker.life to get your first 3 months for free.
Speaking of sex trafficking, California, is A-okay with it as long as you're over 15. They do have a bill on the books that makes it illegal to solicit anyone under 15 for sex work, but they think it's just too much to add the ages 16 and 17. So lawmakers just voted down a proposal that would make it a felony to purchase 16 and 17-year-olds for sex. They're still children. This is Assembly Bill 379. Again, it is already on the books. They want to amend it to increase the age limit from 15 to 17. So anyone under 18. And lawmakers are like, no, you should be able to get 16-year-olds. That's all right. Here is California Assembly member and Public Safety Chair Nick Schultz saying he just doesn't think this is necessary. It's a knee-jerk reaction, he says.
So right now in Sacramento, there is a well-known blade. KCRA did a documentary on it. It's just a few miles away from here. Sheriff Jim Cooper has said that right now, if a John were to go and try to purchase a 16 or 17-year-old on that blade and law enforcement were to intervene, because of a judge's order right now in Sacramento, law enforcement would not be able to put that person in jail because it's not the solid felony that law enforcement has been asking it to be. So I just want to make sure, like, you're okay with 16 and 17-year-olds continuing to be purchased on this blade for the next year or until you have to dissect this issue in the fall, and these Johns getting let go and just issued with citations?
Well, I don't agree with the premise of the question, but what I would say is I'm not okay with any child anywhere being exploited, but the solution that we craft, the solution that we pass needs to make sense, it needs to be equitable, it needs to be comprehensive. And while I appreciate Assemblymember Krell for bringing the proposal forward, and I know that her heart is on this issue, it's connected in a way that few other legislators can really be equal to or understand, it's also my job to make sure that we're not just passing knee-jerk policy, but we're having good substantive conversation and landing on a good spot. So to the sheriff, the district attorney, and any other stakeholders, I hope that they'll continue to engage not just with Assemblymember Krell, but with all the members of the committee, with myself, with our staff, and our goal is to get a good solution delivered here as quickly as possible.
Okay, so this is not a good solution to prohibit 16 and 17-year-olds from being purchased for sex. It's knee-jerk. He needs to think more deeply about how to actually make that a thing. You know, I need to think about it for a while. In the meantime,
these people can continue to do
right.
it. You can continue to do it. Yeah, that's great.
Now, some of the concerns they have to do with loitering, as described by Assemblymember Krell, who put this forward. Watch her explanation.
What we haven't done well in California is address demand. We've figured out how to go after sex traffickers a little bit better than we did before, but we've really left this gap of not going after the buyers. Without the buyers, we don't really have sex trafficking. So this bill allows us to criminalize loitering for the specific purpose of purchasing commercial sex in order to allow law enforcement to stop some of these crimes before they take place.
Okay, so the concern here that some say is, how do you know you're loitering in order to procure sex? People can just be loitering for loitering, right? Obviously, lawmakers would have to prove that you were loitering for the purpose of sex. And they even, this is a little weird, and I just wanted to bring it to you because they're very specific about how you can and cannot hang around places looking for sex. You can't hang around in a car waiting for someone to come and sell you some sex. You can't hang around someone's apartment. It even prohibits the use of a periscope, which made me laugh. Like, who's going to someone's, like, you can't use binoculars, you can't use a drone.
So
but look at the bill.
The Johns that are out in a freaking submarine, like beep 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 beep.
I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but that's how I cruise the strip. Just in my submarine.
In your submarine with your periscope.
But it's diesel. It's not a nuclear sub. It's a diesel.
Yeah. Okay. I clipped this so you can see for yourself. The text of the bill says you cannot use any instrumentality, including a camera, camcorder, mobile phone, electronic device, and a periscope. into people's private places, hoping to be a peeping Tom and then get yourself some sex. You cannot do that. So lawmakers, why?
I made a periscope when I was a kid, you know, like out of a cardboard box.
Yeah.
I'm sure we all did it. Like,
well, that was like every fourth grader did that.
Yeah, and you had the mirror at the top, the mirror at the bottom, and you're like, and I would annoy my sister.
Yeah,
you know,
you cannot do that, George McFly.
All right. That's another person fell out of a tree.
Yeah.
Lorraine.
So I don't know if you got a kick out of the periscope bit like I did, but I was like, why did they include this? Okay, so lawmakers are okay with this bill. They really don't want you using periscopes to go solicit sex from only 15 and under. 16 and up, totally fine. So that's
California. California's great, man. I swear to God.
But I mean, the best part of that is, you know, that means that's happened before. They didn't just come up with that out of nowhere. Like, that means somebody actually was using a periscope. And I want to know the backstory. I want to know the story.
Right. Yeah, me too.
Perry, the periscope pedophile, who was like notorious. Like, we got to put that in the bill because of that guy.
Yeah.
California is looking more and more like Canada every day. So here, California is also working now to pass a bill that would decriminalize welfare fraud up to $25,000. This is California SB 560. It would remove criminal prosecution if someone is found to have stolen or lied to welfare agencies and received money. Here's the bill. You can read it for yourself if you want, not on this screen because it's a mess. It prevents the state from prosecuting someone who may have lied to the state or collected money that was not theirs. It would also expand the welfare state by assigning each recipient a qualified caseworker to identify any errors in determining the overpayment prior to establishing a claim to recover any overissuance. Okay. Why would they do this? Any people falsely being prosecuted for stealing from welfare? Will California ever learn? They decriminalized theft and they got so much of it that they had to walk that back. Now they'll decriminalize welfare fraud and get more of that and continue to bankrupt their own state. Good luck, California.
Crazy town. Crazy town. Hey, if you watch our show, you already know that the mainstream media is playing games with you. That's why their numbers are so doo-doo. Have you seen CNN's ratings lately? They get less than 100,000 viewers in prime time in the demographic. That's terrible. Most podcasts do better than them. It's because people realize that their news is biased. And Ground News is a great place to get that bias out front. So if you're looking for any given story, you can look it up and then see various networks' coverage of it. And Ground News does a fantastic job of marking what the partisan bent is on any given story. For instance, this one, Mexico extradites drug lord and 20 others to the U.S. Well, how is that covered? What is left out of the narrative? What is it they'd like you to see? And it will tell you, does this go left or right? A lot of times you want to read like a partisan story and then read the opposite as well. So you can fill in the gaps because no media can be trusted. So Ground News is a fantastic place to go to get your news and figure out what the bent is, what you're being asked to believe, and just break down the propaganda. You can go to ground.news/redacted and get 40% off or scan the QR code that's on your screen right now. Again, you can get 40% off the same plan that we use every day. And we track our favorite independent outlets on their app. We are subscribed to their newsletter. It's really a great source for news. So we at Redacted really aim to be nonpartisan, but if you want the partisan out there marked for you, that's where you go, ground.news/redacted. Again, you get 40% off. Well, a town in Texas has over $4 million of its own local tax dollars being sent to Israel. When they audited their books and found this, the town of San Marcos decided to stop that aid. Now, Governor Abbott, Greg Abbott of Texas, says you actually can't do that. It's against the law. Now, Israel receives billions of dollars in federal aid from the United States government. This local government for a small town of only 70,000 people found that their residents were sending $4 million a year. And they said, we actually don't want to do that. We want to send that to our local schools, our fire departments, maintain our roads. And the state is saying, you cannot do that. You must continue to send that money to Israel. Now, this is not quite a cut and dry story. It's outrageous that the governor is saying, no, you need to keep sending your local tax dollars to Israel. and he has his own crazy reasons. But the bill was also a little bit strange, too. This is, again, a town of 70,000 people sending over $4 million per year to Israel instead of the local priorities that they wanted. They drafted a resolution to stop that. And Governor Abbott said, you can't do that because it's anti-Semitism. So they are obligated to send their money abroad to Israel. Here is his tweet about it. And then also he wrote the letter. He says that this is against state law. What law? Well, actually, there is a law in Texas that no government entity may enter into a contract worth $100,000 or more unless it includes a written verification that the entity does not boycott Israel and will not boycott Israel during their term. So this is basically an anti-BDS law on the books. The town, though, the resolution itself is a little above its britches. It's a bit crazy because the resolution of the town calls for a ceasefire negotiation in Gaza. How can a small Texas town do that? And it calls for Israel to remove itself from Gaza. Okay. Again, that's a little insane how a small town in Texas can do this. But what they want to do is try to reallocate their own money. And the governor is saying, no, you can't have your own local priorities. Now, this is not, again, a part of the BDS movement, which calls for boycotts of Israel. Congress did try to pass a law making it illegal to boycott Israel. That never became a law. But in fact, 38 states have anti-BDS laws on their books, state laws. These have not held up in court, but they have not been struck down either. So each state has these laws. 13 additional states want to put them on the books, even though more than 70% of Americans do not support anti-BDS laws, because we should be able to boycott whoever the hell we want to. That's our right. No government should tell us what we have to support and what we don't have to support. But again, that is currently the law in many states. There is a movement in Texas to repeal that. Who knows where that will go? Now, Abbott's logic is removing the aid as a boycott. That feels to me like a stretch. Clearly it isn't. The city just wants to use their own money for domestic priorities like addiction, they say, education, and the governor is telling them they can't. So whether this goes to court, who knows? You would think that the city would have the right to say, we don't want to support just this one place. And is the governor saying, no, you have to support who I tell you to? Do they have to send money to every ally? No, just Israel. So it's pretty wild, don't you think?
I'm sure Texas is thrilled about this
right.
as they're dealing with mass illegal immigration, all the crime that they've got down there, all of the problems all the problems that they have. I'm sure they're thrilled to be sending money off to Israel.
Right.
I'm sure that that's the case.